Hi, this is Annie. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be making this beautiful Magnolia granny square. Magnolia is the state flower of both Louisiana and Mississippi. And this granny square is part of my state flower granny square project. Two things before we get started. First of all, this is an easy intermediate level tutorial and I will be showing you step by step how to make the granny square. However, I will not go into a lot of detail for very basic crochet stitches and techniques. So if you're very new to crochet, I would recommend you start with one of my beginner friendly tutorials before moving on to this one. The second thing to mention is that this is my original design. You are more than welcome to use the squares that you make with this tutorial in any of your crochet projects. The only thing that I ask is that you give me credit for the design, and I will include super simple guidelines in the description on how you can do that. To make this granny square, you are going to need yarn. I have picked these three colors. I'm going to make my Magnolia in two colors and then have this separate background color. But you can, of course, pick whatever colors you like. The yarn that I am using is this Hobby Rainbow 8/8 yarn, which is a 100% cotton yarn, and it's a number 3 lightweight yarn. And with this yarn and with my tension, the square is about 4 by 4 inches. You are also going to need a crochet hook, one that matches the yarn weight that you picked, a yarn needle for weaving in your ends, and a pair of scissors. All right. We are going to start our granny square from the middle, so pick whatever color you want to use for the center of the Magnolia. And I'm going to start my square by making a slip knot. And I put it on my hook. And then I will chain 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I will bring this into a ring by slip stitching into that very first stitch. Just a slip stitch there. And then I chain 2. If you have a different way of starting your granny squares, you can of course use your way too. But that's how I start mine. Okay, so now for the center part, we are going to need 9 half double crochet stitches around the ring that I just created. And now actually this chain 2 that I just chained here, this is going to count as my first half double crochet. So I will need 8 actual half double crochets around this ring. So I go yarn over, insert in the middle, pull the yarn through, yarn over, and pull through 3. Half double crochet. So this is how I work all around that ring. And I will create a total of 9 half double crochet stitches, including that initial chain 2. So go ahead and work around yours, and once you have 9, including the initial chain 2, meet me back here. All right, I have worked all around my center, and now I'm ready to join this round. So I have the initial chain 2 and then 8 actual half double crochet. So 9 counting that initial chain 2 as a half double crochet. And then I'm going to go ahead and close the round with a slip stitch. I like to slip stitch here into that first stitch there, kind of on the outside of the circle. And then I chain 1 and I can fasten off this collar. Now, an important thing to mention is, because different people close their rounds differently, what we want to make sure is that we have 9 stitches here on the outside for our next round. So go ahead and count these stitches that we have on the outside, because that's what we need for our next round. All right, next we are going to bring in the color that we want to use for the petals. And for this granny square, we are going to work a total of 6 petals. And we're actually going to make multiple rounds with this, in my case, the white color. So whatever color we pick for the petals, we're going to make multiple rounds. First, we will work a round of single crochets around the center. And after that, we will work the petals, but the petals are actually worked in 2 different rounds. And after that, we will still make one more round. We'll make these loops behind the petals that we're going to need to crochet the rest of the square around the magnolia. So multiple rounds with this next color. I am going to attach my yarn with a slip knot. You can attach yours whichever way you prefer. And we are going to attach it into one of these stitches here on the outside. Remember how we made sure we have 9 stitches here that we work this round into? Well, I'll attach it into one of these. I like to make sure here that I pull that yarn end tight so it doesn't escape. And I will start by chaining 1. And now this chain 1 is not going to count as anything. And for this round, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be working 2 single crochets into each one of these stitches of the previous round. So we'll have 18 single crochets in total because we make 2 in each one of those stitches of the previous round. So I'm going to start right here where I attach my yarn and I chained 1. Chain 1 doesn't count as anything. So I just go straight into that same stitch, pull the yarn through, yarn over and pull through 2. That's my first single crochet. I'll make another one in the same stitch. 2 single crochets in that, and the chain 1 that is not going to count as anything. And this is how I keep going. I'll work 2 single crochet stitches into each one of these stitches of the previous round. There's the second one. Here we go. So now I have worked 6 single crochets in total in 3 of those stitches of the previous round. And this is how I keep going all around. So it's just 2 single crochets into each one of the stitches of the previous round. So go ahead and work all around yours and then meet me back here. All right. I have worked my 18 single crochets. Double check that you have 18 stitches when you count them here on the outside all these stitches. Double check that you have 18 because that's what we're gonna need for our next round. And now I'm going to close this round with a slip stitch, and here I go into this stitch here. So the first stitch there on the outside edge, just a slip stitch there to close the round. And now I'm going to start my next round right from here. And I mentioned earlier that we are going to work each petal in 2 rounds. So first we'll go all around the magnolia for the first round, and then we'll go around the magnolia again for the second round. And we are going to start right from here where I closed that previous round. And I'm going to start by chaining 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That is the start of my first petal. And now I will work 6 single crochets coming back from here. And I'm going to start in the second stitch from the hook. So my hook is here. And the first stitch from my hook would be this one here. I'm going to skip this one and I'm going into the next one. So skip the first one and go to the second stitch from the hook. Just through this loop here. Bring that yarn through and pull through both. Single crochet. That's my first one. I need 6 in total. So I go into the next one, bring the yarn through, yarn over and pull through 2. In the next one, yarn over and pull through 2. And the next one. So it's a single crochets into all of these stitches. And the last one. Okay, that's the start of my petal. So I chained 7 and then I skipped the first one coming back and worked a single crochet into all the other stitches. So I made a total of 6 single crochets. And now I will slip stitch into the next 3 stitches here. So I secure first this petal by going into the next stitch there. So this is where this one starts. I go into the very next stitch. Slip stitch to secure the start of the petal. And then I make 2 more slip stitches here into these stitches there on the outside. There we go. I made a total of 3 slip stitches because the first one was to secure this petal, and then I slip stitched into the next 2 stitches as well. And now I will start my next petal right from here. So chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And now same thing as with the previous one. I skip the first stitch from the hook, and I will work a single crochet into all these other stitches. So skip, and I go into the second stitch from the hook and single crochet. I go into the next one, single crochet, and the next one, single crochet. So 6 single crochets in total. And one more. There we go. And now again, I will make 3 slip stitches here. So the first one to secure this petal, so into the next stitch there on the outside, slip stitch, and then 2 more slip stitches here. So I go into the next one and slip stitch, and I go into the next one and slip stitch. And now this is where I start my 3rd petal. So exactly the same as the previous 2, chain 7 and then 6 single crochets coming back. Now these petals are going to look really odd at this point. Okay, so they're going to be sort of not straight, and they just look funny. So this is really kind of trust the process kind of a granny square. So they will look funny like this at this point, but then once we add the next run around it, they are going to transform into these beautiful large petals. So go ahead and work all around your magnolia, creating 4 more petals. If you need to see how to make the petals, you can rewind, go back here, and make the remaining 4 petals exactly the same way we made these first 2. So work all around. Once you have 6 petals, don't secure the last one yet, okay? Restart the video and I will show you how to make this last one. It's slightly different securing, or slightly different after the last petal than the rest of them. But go ahead and make all the petals and meet me right when you're ready to secure the 6th petal. All right. I am here. I have just finished that last petal, or start of the petal. And now I'm going to secure this. And I'll secure it in the next stitch here by slip stitching, just like the other ones. So this securing is actually not different from the other ones. So I just secure it there. But then now, after securing that, I will only slip stitch into the next stitch here. So with the previous ones, we slip stitched into 3 stitches after making that petal. So the first one to secure, and then 2 more. But now we only secured it and then made 1 more slip stitch there in the next stitch. And we leave it there. And now we're going to start our next round straight away from here. And now this next round is what's going to transform these petals that currently look very silly into these beautiful large petals. And we are going to be working again up and down these petals. And we are going to be creating stitches of different heights, which is what creates this shape of these petals that we have. So I'm going to start right from here. So that's the second slip stitch that I made after this petal. I turn my work like this because this is where I will start. And the first stitch I will be making is a double crochet. And now I'm going to try to show you here very clearly where we're going to be working those stitches. So if you look at this petal here, or the start of the petal, you will see on this side that we have these little holes here. If you pull it a little bit, you will see little holes right here. They are right on the other side. If you look, these single crochets coming back down, they are right across from those single crochets. So wherever you see those 2 loops of the single crochet, I don't know if those are called loops. Well, you see two kind of yarns going into there. That is where the little hole is, where we're going to be working these stitches for this side of the petal. So all these. And I'm going to start with a double crochet. So again, I'm here where I slip stitched the second slip stitch. I start right from here with a double crochet. So I go yarn over, and now I insert, excuse me, I insert into that spot that I just showed you. So there's a little hole there right across from that single crochet. I see those 2 loops going in there of the single crochet. So I insert there. I'm going through, there are 2 loops on this side of my hook. And I pull that yarn through. And I have 3 loops on my hook. And I go yarn over, pull through 2. And yarn over, pull through 2. Oops. Almost lost that. And that is my first double crochet. And now in the next 3 stitches, I will be working a treble crochet. So I go yarn over twice. I insert again, same spot. So right across from that single crochet. I go through both of those loops. There are 2 loops on that side of my hook. Pull the yarn through. And I make a treble crochet. 2 more treble crochets. And again, I go into the next one. Treble crochet. It took me a while to learn where that spot is, where you make these stitches. I hope that the video is going to help you to find the right spot. So right there, right across from this single crochet on the other side. And that was my 3rd treble crochet. So far I have a double crochet, 3 treble crochets, and in the next one I will work a double crochet again. So same thing, right across from that single crochet. A double crochet. And now there is one more. So the last one is a little tricky to see. But it is there. It is in the same spot as the other ones. So right there, there's an opening. And that's where I will work a half double crochet. So into that last one, a half double crochet. So now I have worked all this side. I have 6 stitches in total. Double crochet, 3 treble crochets, a double crochet, and a half double crochet. And now I will chain 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And I will turn my work, and now I will be working down this petal. And I will make the exact same stitches in the opposite direction. So this side is kind of going to mirror what I have on this side. So I have the chain 3 there, and I'm going to secure this with a half double crochet into the first stitch here. And now this side is a lot easier to see where my stitches are. I'll show you here the first one, where the first one is. So the first one is right here, this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So these are the stitches that I'm going to be working into. Much easier to see than the other side. Once you get used to it, the other side is not that bad either, but this is much easier, at least in my opinion. So there's my chain 3, yarn over, and I make a half double crochet into that first one. Then I make a double crochet in the next one, and then I make a treble crochet in the next 3. So yarn over twice, go into the next stitch here. Two more treble crochets. So there's 3 treble crochets, and then in the last one I will make a double crochet. All right, so this is my first petal. And now I'm going to secure this petal before I start my next one. And here I go. If I look at my work here, I will see 1, 2, and 3 stitches here. I will go into the middle one. So if I look here, my double crochet is here. I will skip this first one here, and I will go into the next one. So the second stitch there, I slip stitch right there to secure this petal. So skip and go right there. This is a little tight because this is one of those slip stitches of my previous round. And I find that those are always a little bit tighter, but it can be done. So slip stitch right there. And there's the petal. And now I will start my next petal right from here. So again, I turn my work this way, and I will do the exact same thing I did with this first one. I will show another one because I think, or I know that these can be tricky until you get the hang of it. So again, I will be working into these little spaces here. So right across from the single crochet. Bring this a little bit closer. So here is one right across from the single crochet that's on the other side. Here, this is where I go. And there will be 2 loops left on that side. So I secured that previous petal there, and I start right from here with a double crochet. So double crochet into this first little space here. Oops. Double crochet, and then I will work a triple crochet into the next 3. So yarn over twice, and I insert in the next one. Yarn split there a little. One more treble crochet into the next one. So I have 1 double crochet, 3 treble crochets, and then I work a double crochet in the next one. So again, into that space there, right across from the single crochet. A double crochet, and then in the last one a half double crochet, and it is that last opening right here. Looks slightly different from the other ones, but it's that opening there. A half double crochet. Then I chain 3. These chains of 3 are creating these pointed petals for our magnolia. And then I secure it with a half double crochet into that first stitch on the other side. So here, these stitches are so much easier to find, at least in my opinion. There it is, half double crochet. Then a double crochet into the next one. And then a treble crochet into the next 3. Three treble crochets into the next 3 stitches. One more treble crochet. And then a double crochet into that last stitch. There's my second petal, and now I will secure it in the same spot I did with the first one. So double crochets here, I skip that next stitch and I slip stitch into the second one. Again, these are a little tight, but it can be done. Pull the yarn through and pull it through the loop of my hook. And so far I have 2 finalized petals here and 4 more that I need to create that second layer of stitches for. So feel free to go ahead, work all around your magnolia. If you need to see how to make the petals, go ahead, rewind and go back here and re-watch how we made these 2 because the remaining 4 are going to be exactly the same way. So go ahead, work all around. Again, don't secure that last one. Restart the video when you're ready here. You have worked all those stitches around the last petal, but don't secure it yet, okay? Meet me here once you're done. All right, I have worked my 6 petals for the magnolia, and now I will close this round. Here I wanted to show you because it looks slightly different from the previous ones, since we have this first petal starting there. But basically I'm doing the same thing as I did with the previous ones. So I go into the second stitch there on the outside. So this is where I have that last double crochet. I skip the next one and I go into the second stitch in slip stitch. Right there. And that closes this round. And now we're going to be working one more round with this white color or whatever color you have picked for the petals. And now we're going to be working behind our work, creating chains, loops of chain stitches behind these petals. So we'll make 6 loops in total. And the purpose of those loops is going to be so that we can crochet the rest of the square around the magnolia. So I'm here where I just closed that round. And I will start my first loop by chaining 4 stitches. So chain 4, and now you might need to fold down the petals a little bit to see what you're doing here. Now I will secure this loop of 4 chain stitches between these 2 petals here. So the loop starts here, it goes over that petal on the back side of the work, and I secure it right here. And now here, it's a little bit hard to find a good spot where to secure this. Personally, I like to pick up 2 loops. So I go through 2 loops because I find that if I only pick up 1 loop to secure this, it is going to pull my work in weird ways. So when I pick up 2 loops, it's kind of more even and sturdy. And first I will go here through 1 loop, which is actually the slip stitch or where I've closed the previous round. So kind of if I look here, I have 1 stitch here on that side, 1 stitch on the other side, and then I have this 1 stitch here in the middle of the petals. So I go kind of through 1 of those loops, so straight in the middle, like so. And then there's another loop right here to the left that I also pick up, like so. And then I just pull this yarn through both of those and through the loop on my hook. And that's the first loop. I'll show you another one. If you find a different place where you prefer to secure these loops, feel free to do that. This is the way that I found worked the best for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and again, secure it here. Maybe I'll show you with this needle. So we have 1 stitch here that belongs to this petal here, and then we have another one that belongs to that next petal, and here in between we have 1 stitch. So I don't go through both of these loops of this stitch. I kind of go in the middle, and I only pick up this back loop, and that is so that securing these loops doesn't show on the right side of my work. So I pick up that one, and then I pick up this other one that's kind of to the left of this one. And secure that chain of 4. And again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll show you one more here. So kind of that stitch in the middle, in between these 2 petals. I go in the middle of that stitch to pick up just the back loop, and then I pick up this loop that's kind of to the left, like so, and pull it through to and the loop on my hook. All right, I have worked 3 of these chain or these loops of chain stitches here, so I'll just work 3 more. Go ahead, work around yours, and once you have your 6 loops, then meet me back here when you're ready to secure that last one. All right, I just chained the last 4 stitches for the last loop. And now this one I'll secure just to the start of this first loop here. So I'll just go and slip stitch into that first loop, the start of the first loop. And then I'm done with this color. I can chain 1. And I will fasten off. And now I have my magnolia, and next I will create the granny square around it. Next we will start working on the square around our magnolia. And now with the previous round we created those loops of chain stitches behind the petals. And now with this next round, we are going to be covering up these loops with single crochet stitches. which is going to create a nice base for us so that we can calculate our stitches for the round after that and create the square around the magnolia. So for this round, go ahead and grab your background color, whatever you want to use for the background of the magnolia. Let's see what's going on with my yarn. There it is. And we are going to attach our yarn with a slip knot. Again, of course, if you have a different way that you prefer, you can use your way. And we are going to attach it in the beginning of one of these loops on the back of our work. I am attaching it right here where I have this previous yarn end. I'm taking care of my ends as I go. If you want to check out my method of using that, I will link to a separate tutorial in the description of this video. All right. So right in the beginning of that loop, and we pull that tight, and I will start by chaining one stitch. And now I'm going to work 6 single crochet stitches into each one of these loops. And this chain one here that I just chained is not going to count as anything. This just brings us to the right height, but doesn't count as anything. So I'll work 6 single crochets into this loop. So just go straight into the space, grab that yarn, and pull it through too. That's my first single crochet. So 6 single crochets into this loop, or kind of around that loop. Let's see how many I got. I always lose count when I start talking. So here's my first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need one more. There we go, 6 single crochets in that loop. And then I move on to the next one. So I go just straight into the next space and work my first single crochet. Three so far, 4, 5, and 6. So now I have 6 single crochets in both of these loops. And this is how I work all around my work. So 6 single crochets into each one of the loops. Once you're done with one loop, just move straight into the next space and create your 6 single crochets there too. So work all around your magnolia and then meet me back here. All right, I have worked all around those loops, and as we can see here on the back side, I can no longer see the loops because they are covered with this background color. And now I'm going to go ahead and close this round, and I go here into that first stitch there, kind of on the outside. And now I double check here that I have the right amount of stitches still in this loop, because sometimes when we slip stitch to close the round, we might accidentally slip stitch too far, or anything like that can happen. So let's see, this is my stitch number 1 for this loop, and this stitch belongs to the next loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 where I just slip stitched. So I have 6 stitches in this loop still. And now I'm going to make one more slip stitch into the next stitch. And that is because I want to position the magnolia on the square like I've done here, where I have this petal here on that side, this on the other side, and then here I kind of have these two on that side and these two on the other side. The way I decided to position it for this flower, of course, there could be other ways too. But to be able to do that, I need to start this next round at a certain spot, which is right here. So I closed the round and I made one more slip stitch. And I'm going to start the round from here. And I'm going to start it by chaining 2. And this chain 2 is going to count as a double crochet for my first corner. I know some people chain 3 here for a double crochet, so if that's what you prefer to do, feel free to do it your way. So there's my chain 2, counts as a double crochet. And then I work 2 more double crochets into this same stitch. So this is my first corner cluster that I'm creating. Here we go. 2 double crochets and a chain 2 that counts as a double crochet. Then I'm going to chain 2 for the corner. And I'll make the next corner cluster in the very next stitch here. So 3 double crochets into this stitch. Here we go. That is my first corner for the granny square. And then I'm going to create one cluster for the side. And before I create that cluster, I'm going to skip 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. I go to the stitch number 4, which is the first stitch on this next loop. So I go into that stitch and I create 3 double crochets. So 3 double crochet stitches into this same stitch. There we go. And then it's time for my next corner. And before the next corner, I skip 3 stitches again. 1, 2, 3. And I go into the stitch number 4. And again, 3 double crochet stitches into this stitch. That's my first corner cluster. I chain 2 for the corner and then 3 double crochets into the very next stitch. There it is. I have so far 2 corners and 1 side. And this is how I work all around my square. So I'm just creating clusters of double crochet. In the corners, I do 2 clusters separated by a chain 2. I don't skip anything in the middle of the corner. And then in the sides, I skip 3 stitches on either side of that corner cluster. So go ahead, work around your square. If you need to see how we made the sides, feel free to go ahead and rewind here and make the rest of the sides exactly the same way we made this one. And then the two remaining corners are going to be the same way as this one. So feel free to rewind, watch this part as many times as you have to work all around your square. And once you're done, meet me back here. All right, I have worked all around. If we look here, I now have this square around my magnolia, and I'm going to close this round. Here, I like to go into that stitch there on the outside of my square and slip stitch there. And then I slip stitch my way to the next corner because that's where I like to start my rounds. So just slip stitch into those stitches and into the corner space, and then chain 2. And now the rest of the square is actually going to be super easy. If you have made granny squares in the past, this is going to feel very, very familiar. So the last 2 rounds are just granny stitches all around. So clusters of double crochet stitches into each one of those spaces of the previous round. So we don't need to count any individual stitches anymore. We're done with that. So just into those spaces. And then in the corners, we do 2 clusters separated by a chain 2. So I'm gonna start right here. I slip stitch my way to the corner and I chain 2, which counts as my first double crochet. So I'll just do 2 more double crochets for this corner cluster. There we go. There's half a corner. I chain 2 and then 3 more double crochets into the same corner space. So that's my first corner for this round. And now for the sides, I'll make 2 clusters of double crochet, so 1 in each one of those spaces. So just straight into the space, no individual stitches for this round. Just good old granny stitch all around our square. There we go. That's my side. 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets, and then I move on to the next corner space, creating 3 double crochets for the first half of the corner, like so. And then after this I will chain 2 and create 3 more double crochets into the same space, and in the sides a cluster of double crochets into each one of those spaces. So feel free to go ahead and work all around your square. So just 3 double crochets into those spaces on the side, and in the corner space we do 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. So work all around and then meet me back here. All right, I have worked all around again and I'm ready to close this round. So here again I just slip stitch into that stitch there on the outside edge, and then just a couple of more slip stitches here to get to the next corner space. Here we go. I chain 2, which counts as my first double crochet, and then 2 more double crochets for this cluster. So just like before, granny stitches all around. Now the only difference here, of course, is that as our square keeps growing, we'll have 1 more cluster here on the side. But otherwise, this round is exactly the same as the previous round. So for the corner, 3 double crochet stitches, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and then on the sides I'll create 3 double crochet into each one of those spaces. So feel free to go ahead and work all around your square. So it's just good old granny stitches all around in those spaces of the between the previous round's clusters, and then in the corners 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Work all around and meet me here. All right, I have worked all around and finalized that last round. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and go here and close my round. Again, I slip stitch there into that first stitch there on the outside edge. And I chain 1, and then I can break my yarn. And fast enough. And now here is my Magnolia granny square for Louisiana and Mississippi. I still have here some ends that I need to weave in and then block the square. But otherwise, I am all done. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you're posting pictures of your granny square on Instagram, I would love to see those. So please make sure to tag my account on Instagram. It's Wildflower and Stitch. Thank you again for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, like this tutorial, leave me a comment, share with the crochet friends. All those things do help me a lot. Thank you so much, and I will see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.